It's that time for my obligatory Oscar reaction video. How did I do? We probably want to know. It's what I think about it. Do I like the ceremony? What are my thoughts? First of all, I want to kick off the top of this by asking you to subscribe because you seem like a cool person, and I'd really like to see more of you on this channel. So yeah, if you could click subscribe, that'd be great. Um, and let's talk about Oscars. I do on this channel. I've been doing talking Oscars and doing some predictions and following the other awards. You know what? I was pretty happy with this. The funny thing was, if you watch my predictions and stuff, which no one did, it's weird because like last year everyone watched my video and then no one watched my video this year. And I was like, nah. It's like I know it's 40 minutes, but it's like every category, you know. Just watch every anyway. Um, I broke down all the categories and I basically explained in certain categories. I was like, yeah, this feels like it's a really close race. It's really between these two. I'm going with this, and I explained why. Um, and yeah, um, I I actually even changed between the time I recorded the video and put it on my Facebook. I changed one. I flipped Barbie back to American Fiction, so I actually got American Fiction right on Gold Derby. So basically, I'm gonna talk about it how I landed my final predictions on Gold Derby. I didn't make that many changes from my video, but that was just letting you know I did end up getting an adapted screenplay right because I was just like, nah, just I can't shake the fact that American Fiction just feels like there was something about that BAFTA win that just it's the only nomination and it won. It'd be like if May December won screenplay here, and then you'd be like, well, it's obviously winning the Writers Guild. You know, I mean, it beats all of the other films, all these Best Picture nominees. People would immediately be like, well, it's winning WGA. Um, yeah, it's sort of felt like that to me. So I flew back to American Fiction. My first takeaway from the Oscars was the fact that it had audio description. I want to give a shout out. Nefertiti, Solo, uh, yeah, I don't know how to say her entire name out loud. Nefertiti was, we know each other. And she was half of the audio description team here. Um, I'm also familiar with the company that put on the audio description, which is great. It's the second time that I've heard Oscars with live audio description. I've heard some other ceremonies done with audio description, and I always find it really interesting because they have to jump right in, and someone stands up, and you're like, "What are they wearing? Oh my God, how do I describe that?" And I kind of remember like the Oscars of yore when I used to be able to see, and people would try to wear the weirdest, most garish things, like Bjork wearing a swan, you know? And you're like, how do I describe that? So I think I was watching the Globes or something earlier this year, and I commented on that video. I was like, yeah, it's basically like I felt kind of bad for the live AD on that because you can hear them. They're like, she's wearing it's uh and some of these, you know, some of the dresses and stuff is just like, where do I start? I don't know. Uh and you just start trying to describe it. It's strapless, greens, it's sequence. Yeah, so it seems like a skill, and it seems like they really nailed it actually at the Oscars because there was less of that. There was less sort of like, what do I say about this? You know, how do I describe this? Um, so that's my first thought. So thank you so much to the team for audio describing and doing a great job. Yeah, I feel like this is really hitting a rhythm. I hope they use the same team every year because obviously these two are killing the game. I need to learn the other narrator's name. I think it's Emily something. I feel like it's Emily, but it could also be Emma. I'm like 99% sure her name starts with an E, but I'm not sure it's not Emma. I think it's Emily. Um, shout out to them. Anyway, red carpet. Everybody makes videos about like the problems with Disney. You know what the problem with Disney is? When The Rock is on the red carpet, he can't remember which Moana is coming out next. You're making too many damn Moanas. He's like, He's like, yeah, we're really excited. We got Moana, Moana 2, and yeah, you got your, she, I don't know, she name checked some guy, some friend who's like, yeah, and so is, and oh yeah, we got I'm starting filming. So yeah, I've got Moana. I'm filming Moana this year. Moana 2 comes out this year. It just sounds so weird when he says it. It's like, wait a minute, you're filming Moana, but Moana 2 comes out this year? Oh yeah, that's right. He's doing a live action. Why are we already doing a live action adaptation of Moana? Why? It's just so weird. Anyway, that was my favorite moment of the red carpet, by the way, was watching Dwayne Johnson trying to explain what the hell's going on with the Moana franchise. So, loved it. Hashtag loved it. Then we got in the ceremony. Jimmy did a great job. Lots of references to Barbie, which only walked away with one Oscar for Best Original Song. Predictably, for What Was I Made For? I got that category correct. We got to hear songs throughout the night. I finally actually heard a performance of the Killers of the Flower Moon song, and I was like, oh, that's the song, because I couldn't hear it. Like, I didn't know in the film. I was like, where is this in the film? I've seen that film twice, and that song never stood out to me. As itself, I understand why it is we nominated that song and why it's important and the representation and everything that song has. And in a year that was really weak for music, absolutely. However, no one's gonna remember that song. Yeah, I don't even think Indigenous people are gonna remember that song 10 years from now. They might have remembered Peaches. Um, they might have remembered something from Wonka. I don't know. We didn't even give Wonka a chance. It's weird. It's a musical. It's just, I feel like there are other songs. That Flamin' Hot song is just not, that's a nothing. It's a nothing song. It's a wasted nomination. I don't know. I just, no shade to Becky G. It's just the song didn't do anything for me at all. So, but I love the I'm Just Ken performance. That was great. So we kicked off the night with the easiest win, which is Divine Joy Randolph, which everybody knew was going to win. I love what they did with the actresses coming out on stage. The former, I just wish they had chosen them better and made, because I loved when it felt really personable. Actually, the supporting actresses did it best because they made it seem like that they were really giving like praise to their friend, for the most part, or to somebody like they were asked, you know what I'm saying? Like they asked to do that. I felt like Rita Moreno for America Ferrera was such a good choice. Whereas when you get later on into the thing, there's some people who are chosen for other performers where you're like, why? What is the connection here? Like, I loved Sam Rockwell doing Robert Downey Jr. because of Iron Man 2. But there were other words just like, why are you doing that actor? Like, what is the point? What's the purpose here? I know, like, Ke Huy Quan trying to talk about how Sterling K. Brown has been in the business for... Dude, he has not been in the business nearly as long as you have. You understand it way more than anyone else. Actually, he should have been the one doing, like, De Niro on that stage. Been like, when I was a little kid breaking into the scene, De Niro was winning his first Academy Award. So I don't know, whatever. Would have made way more sense. I just line it up better next time. I enjoyed the format. It was a fast Oscar. We just whipped right through it. The in memoriam sequence, seriously, you guys got to do a better job about that. You had moments, there were moments too in the description where we just kind of listened to the singing. I was like, are there names happening? I trust my narrators. And then I saw afterwards that they didn't name check Lance Reddick or Treat Williams. What? Excuse me? What? Lance Reddick was just in John Wick Chapter 4. What? Hello? He is a film actor. Treat Williams is a film actor. They've been in films, and they're well known, and they should have been on that list. Really obvious stuff. I know before there was like the Corey Monteith thing. They were like, oh, we left Corey Monteith off, and it's like, I don't know, he's Glee, But those guys actually acted in films, and Lance Reddick actually acted in films from that year. I think he actually still has a film coming out. Isn't he in Shirley? I think he has a film coming out this year. Um, so yeah, I absolutely would have um, made sure they were on the list. Very weird choices. Um, so what did I get wrong? Uh, so I got everything I got wrong was basically like the other category. And in some categories where I was like, it's really tight, I ended up getting it right. I was like, yes, thank God. I got my random animated short, which I hadn't seen any of them. It was the only category where I hadn't seen a single nominee. And I was like, I don't know, I'm just gonna pick the John Lennon thing, War is Over. Surprise it won. Um, between on documentary short, everybody said it was between ABC's A Book Banning and Last Repair Shop. I went with Last Repair Shop. I was like, this feels right. It's inspirational. I know ABC's A Book Banning is a chance to kind of make a stand and say, hey, let's stop banning books. And it's from the person who did HBO documentaries. And there's so many reasons why to pick that documentary. Um, Last Repair Shop is Los Angeles. These guys are in Los Angeles. It's a love letter to music, and it is backed by Fox Searchlight. So there's so many other reasons to pick that, and the LA Times, and yeah, I picked Last Repair Shop and got it right. I was really disappointed Wes Anderson wasn't there for the wonderful story of Henry Sugar's win. It's his first Oscar, and he couldn't even bother to show up for it. It's like, why? This is why they don't nominate you, bro. This is why. This is why your shit just doesn't travel. As like you treat it with with no reverence, and you don't come. I understand why like 90 whatever year old Hayao Miyazaki didn't fly over for his win, but you should have been there. Rita Moreno came out on stage. If Rita Moreno can continue to just keep chugging out on stage, you can show up, sir. Anyway, moving on. Visual effects I got wrong. I went with Guardians. I was like, this is a really weak year. I pointed out, I was like, the fact that Mission Impossible got its first nomination says less about the franchise and more about how they felt about the weak entries of the year. I mean, there were films that should have, on paper, should have gotten nominations, like Indiana Jones and The Flash, but their visual effects just ended up not being good, and the films just weren't well received. So you ended up still with a film like The Creator, which wasn't really well received critically, on the list, competing for this prize. Napoleon wasn't really that well received. It's a very weird list. I knew Godzilla Minus One had a shot, but I also knew Guardians had made a ton of money at the box office and was well liked. And Marvel doesn't usually win this. And I thought maybe this was a chance, since so many people have worked in VFX for Marvel over the years, that they were going to finally award the people who worked so hard on really tight deadlines to provide excellent visual effects. But Godzilla, I also acknowledged, I was like, a lot of people grew up on Godzilla, and it's a chance to recognize the studio for the first time, and they did. So Godzilla Minus One. Maybe they'll put audio description on it now. You know, it'd be great. Would be if the Oscars had a requirement that all titles be accessible. That would be amazing. Anyway, yep. So moving on to, I'll just do sound. These aren't even in the order. I'm way out of order. Sound, I got wrong. I went with Oppenheimer. It was really funny because I wanted to go with Zone of Interest. I just thought Oppenheimer was going to sweep more. So I was just like, Oppenheimer. I actually hate the sound design to Oppenheimer. So thank God it didn't win. I'm so happy to lose this. Yeah, it knocked me down on Gold Derby. But this is one I'm happy to lose. Zone of Interest, absolutely done. Signed, sealed, delivered. Especially since John Wick Chapter 4 wasn't given a sound nomination, which it should have been. Yes, Zone of Interest. Clearly, the whole film hinges on sound design. So they rightfully won for that. Best Original Score went to Oppenheimer, which I correctly predicted. Best Original Song went to, as I said, Billie Eilish. I think that's her second Oscar, right? Didn't she already win for Bond? So now she's a two-time. And Diane Warren is just sitting out there in the audience going, fuck. I don't know, write better songs for movies that people watch. That would be my advice to Diane. We probably should have given it to her a long time ago for I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. just to be honest, I mean, for that song has kind of stood the test of time. I know it's cheesy. I know I know what film it's from. You know, I get it. But let's face it, you know the lyrics to that song. No one will ever know the lyrics to Flaming Hot. Becky G probably had to memorize them right before she went on stage. Anyway, moving on. Best makeup. I I talked about this. I explained this category, and I immediately threw away Golda and Society of Snow. I was like, a lot of times makeup is tied to a win, and this actually, when this happened, I was like, I wonder. And I was right. Ended up being right after the fact, but there's nothing you can do at that point. I can't change my prediction, but it ended up being exactly what I said would happen. So I dropped Maestro, which a lot of people had thought was the front runner because it's a lot of de-aging. It's a lot of not de-aging, but aging makeup on Cooper and Mulligan, and a lot of people thought that was going to win. I was like, I'm not predicting Cooper or Mulligan to win, so I'm not putting Maestro. And at the time, I was predicting Lily Gladstone as actress. And I'm not predicting Mark Ruffalo, and Willem Dafoe's not even nominated. And usually these things are tied to Oscar wins, but I was predicting Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. So I picked Oppenheimer. I thought that might be the surprise of the night because nobody was really thinking it was going to win, but this category usually ties to Oscar wins, which is exactly what happened when it went to Poor Things. And I kind of had that suspicion when this happened early in the night. I was like, I think I know what's going to happen. And so at least I totally called it. I was like, it's going to go to somebody. The problem was I just didn't predict Emma Stone. So I thought they were going to go with the Lily Gladstone narrative instead of giving Emma her second Oscar. But I'm so happy Emma did. She was my pick. You can go watch my top 10 videos. She's my number one. So congratulations there. Poor Things also won for both costume design and production design, two places where I actually had Barbie, because I thought one was going to go to Barbie and one was going to go to Poor Things, and I was going to pick one film to go across, and I picked the wrong film. If I had picked Poor Things, I'd have been fine. The thing was, I didn't know which one was going to win which. I felt like one would go to Barbie and one would go to Poor Things, but I could make the argument either way on either one. So I just was like, well, I'll pick Barbie and take the hit on the one that doesn't win. Okay. Because if I picked Barbie for costumes and Poor Things for production, and then Barbie wins production, and then Poor Things wins costumes, I've missed both. You know what I'm saying? But if I pick one film for both categories, theoretically I would have gotten one. I didn't think they were going to sweep both. Yeah, that was a surprise. So I missed both. It's funny how close I came to getting that right, because if I had just done Poor Things in both categories instead of Barbie, it was a coin toss. I could have done either film, and I did the wrong one as my placeholder for both. Anyway, international film predictably was Zone of Interest. We don't really need to talk about that. That was a great speech, though. Just an amazing speech. Thank you for using your Oscar speech time to remind people about things they need to be reminded of. Shouldn't need to be reminded of, but do. Same thing for Best Documentary Feature, which went to 20 Days of Mariupol, which I also got right. Thank you for using your time for a great speech and reminding people of things they shouldn't need to be reminded of, but do. Best Animated Feature, I got this wrong, but everybody knew it was between Spider-Man and Boy and the Heron. It's just, a lot of people predicted Spider-Man, so a lot of people just got this wrong, which is fine. So yeah, Boy and the Heron won. Studio Ghibli. Never underestimate the power of Studio Ghibli, especially when it is actually Hayao Miyazaki and not someone else that they're propping up. Editing and cinematography both predictably went to Oppenheimer, which I got right. I got both of the screenplay wins right. I got American Fiction for adapted and Anatomy of a Fall for original. I got supporting actress Divine. I got supporting actor Robert Downey Jr. Some good jokes made at RDJ's expense early on in the night from Kimmel. I got Cillian Murphy correct, and then I didn't get Emma Stone because I went with the SAG 4, and now we know the SAG is vulnerable. They had been getting it right, but they didn't get this one. So Emma Stone broke the SAG for the 4 for 4 that they had been getting, um, and won Best Actress. Best Director predictably went to Nolan, and Best Picture predictably went to Oppenheimer. So yeah, I missed a couple, but it always went to the person to the other thing. It didn't. There wasn't like a out of left field surprise. There wasn't like a what? Robot Dreams for animated feature, nothing like that. So it's a pretty good night. I thought it was fun. Some really good jokes. Um, Kimmel went political. I was like, damn. All right, you do you. Good go for you. I mean, he went after Katie Britt. He went after Trump. He used his time on stage. He was like, I'm here. I'm gonna do it. Um, and always got a great reaction every time he did it too. So I don't know what that says, but yeah, there's a lot of talent and influence in that room, and if they love those jokes as much as they love them, maybe they should do something with their talent and influence. Then going forth, they heard a lot of things. They heard war in Ukraine. They heard stuff about the war in Israel Palestine. You guys, there's a lot of you sitting in the audience that can do things, and aren't. So pick something, and if you heard some sort of advocacy, do something with it. I don't know, fight for something. Anyway, this was a fun ceremony, and it was short, and apparently there was an Abbott Elementary after it. So weird. I like the earlier start time, and anyway, I'm probably like, I don't know, like what, like a month or two, probably a month from mentioning the Oscars for next year. Two, maybe. I don't know. April or May, I'm gonna start talking about Oscars again for next season. I'm actually gonna do something really fun coming up where I rewrite the Oscars for the years in which I feel like I've seen enough releases to be able to do that. So stay tuned. But until then, I will thank you guys for watching and see you guys on the other side.